Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the True Story News podcast. And man, I got a lot of downloads, guys. A lot of downloads. I've been going through some stuff this past few weeks in a positive way. Just been really doing a lot of meditative work and channeling a lot of things. And this entire past few weeks, just been waking up out of sleep. Just getting a lot of powerful downloads and been unusually emotional, so I got to be careful with who I interact with during this time. But yes, you definitely have to be careful because I'm definitely opening up and peeling layers open. And I've been getting a lot of downloads, and one of the things I want to talk about is propaganda and false information coming at us. And I got a download about that. And I was talking with my niece and my friend on WhatsApp. We're in a little group and we talk throughout the day. And my niece mentioned something about people being pumped with so much information that they don't know what's real. They don't know what's true. They don't know what's false. So you have so many people running around so confused. They don't know what the facts are. They don't know what reality is. And people are just so inundated with bad information coming from the channels and the platforms they think they're supposed to trust, because they don't get it. They don't get this matrix. They don't know how the world works, as Jordan Maxwell always said in his lectures. People just don't know how the world works. So a lot of things that I already knew just started to rush to my head and come to my mind at that point, because it's true. And we spoke about that a little bit, how people are just lost. And when it comes to this COVID thing, that too, people just are fighting because they don't live in reality. They live being spoon-fed information. And we're attacking each other and fighting because people are just not clear on what the truth is, and they believe liars. And they don't have respect for people who feel differently. You're seeing a lot of people saying, these idiots, stupid this, everyone's stupid. Everyone's calling everybody stupid. People who support masks and the jab, calling everybody else stupid who doesn't want to, and vice versa. People who ran in and got jabbed and wear masks, the other side is calling them stupid. And there's just this disrespect. And that is dangerous. That is bad. And we have to wake up, realize how the game is played and how the world really works, and realize what is going on right now. So earlier today, something just popped in and came to mind because I got yelled at once. Not yelled at. Somebody snapped at me once. And it's not the biggest deal. I didn't take it personally, and it wasn't that serious. The person was having a bad day, and there were other things going on in the person's life. So it's all water under the bridge. But it's something that I did remember, and it was on my mind, and I don't care. It wasn't taking it personally, but the reason why that happened. And the subject the person just ripped into was primarily about the masks and just complying and that sort of thing. And it just came out of nowhere. It was highly emotional, and it didn't really address anything that I said. It was just all this other stuff that spewed out. And there's a reason for that. People are only good as the information they expose themselves to. And we have to be careful of that. So earlier today, after I was having that conversation, that WhatsApp conversation, I start searching for information. And I'm on Instagram, and there's a guy, Rissa Islam, that's been talking about this situation. And he's got a lot of information, so much so that they labeled him one of the disinformation dozen. And he just comes with a lot of facts. And like when you're in the same kind of school of thought, you kind of fall into the same information. And so like I kind of just vibrated into his feeds because we pull from the same information, the same doctors, the same scientists. And I follow his feed, and he was making mention of there's all these dumb celebrities, man. Really, it's like, what is wrong with them? I think some of them might be MK Ultra'd, some of them are being paid, some of them are just not too bright. Like, it's just a bad celebrity infestation on serious issues where they really should just bow out of these issues. One of them is D.L. Hewley, one of them, and talking about the jabs, and just so ignorantly, like they just don't know anything, and they won't stop. And so much so that people starting to believe that people like him are being paid by big pharma to spew pro-jab information and influence their platforms to get the jab, because it's either he's just something wrong with him, or he's being MK Ultra, or he's just really just not the sharpest tool in the shed, because his intelligence. And I'm not being mean. I try to give people airtime when I listen to them, and just to hear. That's the thing about me. I don't shut anyone down. I don't call anyone names. I really try to hear you. But this man does not make any sense. He doesn't make any sense, and people believe in what he's saying and follow him because I don't know, something's wrong with people today. But he doesn't make sense, and his arguments are not logical, and as much as he lacks in substance, he's ironically very dismissive of Islam and rude and obnoxious, and he is a source of respectable intelligence and information, and he's just being like nasty and mean. And so that's why a lot of people think that he's a sellout, just rat agent sellout that's been commissioned by the pharma industry to promote jabs and kind of make fun of people, resourceful people like Rissa that have actual information. Like, that's their job. I don't know what his motivation is, and I'm not going to assume or judge, but just telling you, a lot of people are starting to think that, yes, he is a sellout working for the pharma industry. And there's all these people and comedians and people who are coming out with podcasts and, putting themselves on a soapbox talking pro-jab. So this is an infestation of brainwashed celebrities who don't know what they're talking about, who are just constantly talking. It's just like something I've never witnessed before in my life. And so while I was going down that rabbit hole and I was looking at the different celebrities, wouldn't you know it, the person that kind of snapped at me, and this is how it came in as a download because it hit me. The person that kind of snapped at me, social media shows you who who like certain videos. On all those videos of, the celebrities that were pro-jab, that person's name was there that had liked the post. And I started to think, and it just hit me how a lot of people get to this point emotionally. And I started to realize that, when you live your life and you don't realize that we are in an age of propaganda, we are in an age of strategic, organized disinformation designed by corporate entities, you're going to be lost in the system. And from seeing that name there, I realized that on all those videos, I realized that this is what people are doing to themselves. And this is why people get emotional. And this is why people are so impatient with other people's views, because people don't know that they're being programmed and they're strategically cocooning themselves into teams and schools of thought. And this is why I tell people, get out of this political thinking. People are so, prone to think according to their political affiliations. And this is why so many Democrats specifically are so completely gone, lost on this issue. And both parties are wrong about a lot of things, but the Democrats, for whatever reason, when it comes to these COVID issues, they are the party of this mask wearing sheepiness, because they feel, due to the socio-political paradigm that we live in, they tend to feel that this is the rational, logical thing to do, to be compliant to government rule and protocols. And because these two parties are structured to be diametrically opposed to each other at all times in ideology, the two sides never really come together when they probably should. People need to understand, sometimes the blue team's right, sometimes the red team's right. But on these COVID-related issues, the Democrats are lost in a bad, very bad way, all while believing that they have the logical and moral high ground, because they're not those guys. And again, I'm just talking about the COVID-related stuff. I mean, there's other issues that we can go back and forth on, but when it comes to the COVID-related issues, the Democrats, no. This is why I tell people all the time, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative Republican, and I don't think as one. And I'm definitely not a Democrat. I don't think as one. And, I don't run with these groups, feminists, LGBT. I don't run with any groups, because at some point they control your mind, and they, pull you into a hive mind way of thinking. And so that you don't get to the truth, you're programmed and you believe as your tribe believes, if they're right or wrong, And I think that this is happening to a lot of people. And so when I saw that name there, I just started to stroke my beard a little bit. And I started to click on some of the videos. And these are people sharing Chris Cuomo from CNN. Like, he's having pro-jab segments. Like, I'm sorry, if you think that Chris Cuomo from CNN is a bastion of truth, you're going to have a rough time. He's a professional liar. This is what they do. And they work at the behest of what their assignments are, given. And we have a problem in which the pharma giants are subsidizing a lot of the information. So you're listening to shills control the narrative. And I watched some of the clips that these people in this tribe of thinking were sharing. And it was yellow journalism. It was propaganda, and they set up good guy, bad guy arguments. And Cuomo was talking about a pro-vaccine segment, and he had this guy on who was obnoxious, and he was mean, and he just looked like he had a chip on his shoulder, and he wasn't the best representative of the counter argument. And that's probably exactly why they had him on, so that Cuomo can handle him and program the narrative. Jabs are good and masks are good, even though he refuses to wear them himself or do any of that himself. His job is to lie to you and propagandize you and make you believe these things that he doesn't subscribe to himself. As a matter of fact, his building had written a letter or made a complaint because he never wears masks. And even after a lot of his clips telling people to wear masks. So yeah, people listen to these guys, these people, the professional liars, and they get programmed. And these people listen to it's just interesting how they frame narratives, and they make you hate the people on the other side. And this is where this is coming from, where people just get impatient because they're programmed. They're working us on a daily basis, framing the narrative and molding our mind, because people are listening to garbage and trash all day, every day, and trusting and believing what they see and what they hear and what they're told on television. And this is the problem. And this is why people can't think clearly. This is why people don't know what the hell is going on. So, while fascism and totalitarian agendas are being rolled out that they obviously planned. So many people are clueless. They cannot see the forest through the trees because they're programmed. They don't know what's going on. And so they live in denial. And there is no Trump side of the argument. And I try to tell the Trump people too. There's one bird, two different wings, one bird. They're all going to try to do the same thing. There is no anti-mask, anti-jab wing of any party. If you don't believe me, hang on a sec.
I believe totally in your freedoms. I do. You got to do what you have to do. But I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines. But no, that's okay. That's all right. You got your freedoms. But I happen to take the vaccine. If it doesn't work, you'll be the first to know.
Okay. So, yeah. All roads lead to the jab. So this is the problem. If you don't understand the game, if you don't understand how things are strategically done, like, let's talk about masks very briefly. You're seeing people walk around with masks almost to the point of like, it's insane. And I remember in March, early March, April, I was trying to tell people, I was making videos, hey, this is not based on science, what they're telling you. Listen, I know everyone's afraid and we want to be responsible, but there's something else going on here, guys, that they're trying to do something here. No, the normism, they're just scared and they want to be obedient and they want to believe Fauci is saving them. But there was something weird going on. And if you remember, there was a lot of doctors and scientists from all over the world coming out saying, hey, you don't need to be doing this. This is not what these are for. And there was a lot of uprising against the mandate for masks. And then all of a sudden, you're seeing these people getting swatted down like flies, one after the other. And Dr. Mercola, there were a lot of people who I followed that were respected doctors and scientists for like 30 years. Then all of a sudden, from like 2019, 2020, they were quacks. Like they had acclaimed profiles for years, followings, respect. The minute they went against the jab or the mask, they were quacks. And, your normies that don't think too deeply or critically just went with the mainstream narrative. Yeah, mask, jab, and people don't really think that profoundly. And that was scaring me. It's not so scary that the world governments are doing what they're doing. They were planning this for a long time. What is really scary is how brainwashed a lot of people are and how unable they are to rescue their minds and see what's happening, because some of them are too programmed and others are too lost in their ego, because I think deep down on a subconscious level, at this point, they gotta know something's not right. Something's going on, but their egos won't let them. Their egos have them trapped, and they're not going to wake up. They're never going to wake up. Some are so programmed and scared. I look at people's comment sections, friends, old friends, and just look at them, just like shaking my head. This is just abject cluelessness. These people just don't know what's going on, and they can't wake up. And this is the problem. And so this is the crux of the message. You have to know and understand that we live in a system of propaganda. We're being propagandized. As a matter of fact, it's been made illegal while people were sleeping. Most of us are fast asleep. We don't know what the wheeling and dealing that our governments are doing against us in the night. They made it legal to propagandize us. And they're propagandizing us now, probably worse than Nazi Germany. A lot of the information is not true that they're telling us. And it's been, cleaned up. It's been presented as the science. And this is scary that people can't see through this. And the counter arguments have been demonized and villainized and criminalized and censored and chased off the internet. And this is just like a Nazi Germany thing where, people are making fun of the people trying to wake you up and tell you something. And the vast majority of people are the programmed. And they keep moving the line back. They keep getting another first down. And now they're making their power moves and their chess moves for the New World Order. And they're making their things that, people used to make fun of as conspiracy theories. They're mandating this. They're requiring it. All the businesses, all the schools, they're forcing you to inject their poison. They're forcing everyone. If you want to do it, hey, like I said, I come in peace, and I'm not coming to judge, and I'm not coming to criticize. If you believe the efficacy of the medical treatment, go ahead and do it. But the fact that they're taking the unlawful, unconstitutional position to force it and demand it of everyone in society, to require it, to eat, to shop, to buy, sell, to do anything. I think this is biblical. That's just me. But they're requiring this to do everything. This should kick something off in you to say, hey, something's not right. Something isn't okay about this. But people are so programmed and so slow, and they're walking around in fat masks. I've seen people put masks on their little babies. It's just like, these people are not ready, spiritually ready for what is happening. They're dead. They're walking around completely dead and insane. You have all these people, like when you're trying to scream to the people, hey, wake up, there's something going on, let's move. They try to slow you down, and their programmed minds are just going to tell you, just wear the mask. Is it that much big of a deal? Not understanding this was a whole social engineering operation to get you habituated to obedience, following rules, obeying protocol and procedures, and work you down to the point where you're just going to go, you're ripe and you're ready for the next phase of, we're going to get the jab, we're going to do this, we're going to lock down, we're going to do this. You're just a little hopping monkey that they've trained to do whatever they need you to do. And when people stop and say, no, I'm not going to do this, no, I'm not going to do that, the programmed minds get incensed. They get angry. They're programmed, and they're in their fear. You can see them in the comment section. And you know what? I don't want to bring that spirit of arguing or making fun of people, but I use the word normie a lot because, not to be petty, but I'm warning you. I'm warning people. The normies of society, which is most people, are going to become dangerous very, very soon, because these are the programmed masses that don't know they're programmed, don't want to admit they're programmed, and can't see that they're programmed, and can't see what the world governments are doing. So they're going to work for the system. These are going to be the snitches. These are the weak. These are the people that are going to tell you to just do this, just wear the mask, just get the jab. They're going to work for the system. They're going to rat you out. Be mindful. So we have to wake, people up who are able to wake up. We have to encourage and support one another who are aware of what's going on. And we have to be aware. We have to be aware of the normies, because they're the majority of society, the non-thinking people that don't want to wake up. They can't see what's going on. And we have to be aware of that obstacle, of that threat, of that problem. While there's people out there protesting all over the world, the normies that got the jab, they're wearing the mask, they're not going to help you. Get the jab. They'll tell you to just do it. Just wear the mask. Oh my God, you people are so selfish. Can't you sacrifice a little? These people, they don't have their mind. Their mind is gone. It's been pummeled out of them. I've been in the streets of New York, riding the buses, riding the trains. Please wear your mask. Always remember, please wear your. I'm in the grocery store. Always remember, please wear your mask. The programming, the months and months of programming, the celebrities, the fake doctor shills that they put on the news. No, they're not fake doctors, but they're shills, corporate shills. Telling you, oh, masks are the best defense when they're not. The jabs are safe and effective. It's the best. They're lying to you and programming you, and they've been doing this for months. And if you don't see this, this is going to be a problem for your mind and your spirit. And when stuff really starts to hit the fan, a lot of these people who refuse to accept reality are going to have a rough time psychologically putting things together when something, okay, you can't refuse this now. This is going to mollywop you right in the face. And the people who've lived in denial this whole period, it's not going to be okay. Spiritually and emotionally and psychologically, you're not going to be ready for what happens next. You're not. People have to free their mind and wake up. But we in certain communities, we understand that we're no longer on that message anymore. People who are going to wake up, woke up already. The people who won't probably never will. So we have a new assignment and a new directive. And part of the reason those of us who are activated have a new directive is because if it isn't obvious to you by now what's going on, it never will be. Getting back to the subject of propaganda, it is becoming more and more painfully obvious just how fake, how evil and fraudulent the mainstream narrative is, and the stunts that they're pulling. They're desperate. At one point they devolved into giving out burgers and drugs and snacks in order to get people jabbed. Now they're running propaganda campaigns in every direction, commercials, getting celebrities, recruiting celebrities. They're doing everything. And now, because they are really powerfully losing the argument, they're losing the heart and consciousness of the people. They're realizing that this system is evil. The system is doing evil. This is unethical, what they're trying to do. Taking people's livelihoods in order to force medicate. They're losing the narrative and they know it. So what they're doing is propping up more propaganda and fake news. One of them is the 75 doctors for getting jabbed. If you can't see that, that's just a load of crap. You're never gonna see anything. That is so god awful. I mean, back 2014, I started YouTubing. I started to do these big exposés exposing how, a lot of these narratives in the news, it doesn't matter, current events, there was just so much fraudulent national stories that were just fake, provably fake, and how routine, they just lie to you and they make things up to kind of lead everyone's thinking, controlling the minds of the masses and getting us to believe things so that they can control the way we think and how we view reality. They're still doing it, and they're doing it in the era of COVID, so painfully obvious that I don't have to make a big expose to show you that this is just a bunch of crap. And if you can't see that, I'm not going to bother making a video to prove it to you, because look at it.
That is truly reflective of the frustration that you see behind me. And these doctors have gathered, some coming off their shifts. To come out here, gathering to try to tell people, please, first of all, ignore the nonsense and the absurdities that you're hearing people say at public meetings, and recognize the value of what a vaccine will do. 85% of the ICU beds in Florida are full. Now, there are some hospitals that have no space in the ICU. They've turned cafeterias, they've turned conference centers over to beds to house patients because they are so overwhelmed. Dr. J.T. Snarsky is joining us here. She's one of the doctors. First of all, you hear that woman at the school board saying the absurdity. How does that make you feel, and how do you combat it?
It's incredibly frustrating because we know vaccines are safe and effective, and it's people who go out and talk against them that really go against physicians and medicine and science, and it's not the message we want to get across to people. Vaccines are safe, and we need to get our communities vaccinated.
The 75 doctors, when they were so plastic, so fake, you know, people were asking, did they ever investigate, find out the doctors' names or the hospital? Like, people are asking those questions, and it's like, we don't even have to at this point. It's probably all fake and staged. And the reason why they're running these propaganda stories now is because they have to counter the real protests with fake protests. They're fake propaganda. Because there's people protesting all over the country. People are protesting with the ethical argument on their side, with the right thinking on their side. Like, you know what, this is injustice. This is unethical. They're trying to create a divide between the jab and unjabbed and make the two sides hate each other, you know, make everybody hate people who don't want to get jabbed. They're creating division, and they're bullying, and they're taking people's livelihood. They're wrong. They're wrong. And so there's people taking to the streets. There's rallies and protests all over the world and all over this country. And so to counterattack, they're not televising the real protests and the real rallies, and they're creating their own fake, plastic, nonsensical protests that don't even make any sense. Doctors are leaving out the hospital because not enough people are getting jabbed. It is so stupid. And to believe that that's real, I'm sorry, you're just not going to ever get online if that convinces you. We are in an age of non-stop propaganda, you know, and people need to start to learn to unplug and step away from the televisions. Folks are so helplessly programmed, and they have to learn to use their own brain and think. Look at this, and look at the timing. It was Governor DeSantis who was making a lot of noise and making a lot of traction going against the Biden administration. Whether he's for real or not, who cares? But he was making a lot of noise going against the mandates. And then, boom, overnight, all of a sudden, Florida was quiet. All of a sudden, in the news, all these cases started surging and surging and surging overnight. All overnight. And now the doctors are running out of the hospitals. You know, and instead of people thinking, that seems a little suspicious, Governor DeSantis, all the governors that stand up against mandates, governor from Texas, all of a sudden they're immediately attached to COVID cases and things, and no one says, maybe there's something suspicious going on. No, instead they go, see, just like the government says, we need the masks, we need the mandates. Those bad anti-jabbers will never learn. Come on, people. You know, so we who know what's going on have a new directive. Those people who get it have to spring into action a different way, because the people who are stuck in this matrix and don't know what's going on might have to be left there. We're going to have to navigate around these people that are listening to the celebrities, that are listening to the pundits on CNN, that are listening to this crap and believing it. We're going to have to navigate around all of that. Because let me point out the level of abject cluelessness that we're dealing with right now. The Pfizer shot was recently approved by the FDA. And the interesting thing about that is that those who have their awareness, their ability to understand things and dissect things, understand that that was impossible. This is something that has to do with time. They really don't have the data compiled for long-term adverse reaction studies. So those who have a brain know that there is no possible way for the FDA to approve any of those jabs. It was impossible because it requires years of data. They have no long-term effects, adverse reactions, data compiled. So obviously, common sense, they can't get a full approval in less than a year. And so it's obvious to critical thinkers that they're lying, and they didn't do this based on health, public safety. They did this for political reasons to serve the agenda. They are liars. They're demonic liars pushing this jab agenda through. That is very clear to those who are still able to think and reason. But did people in comment sections know this or say this? No. What did they say? Thank God it's finally approved. See, now what are the anti-jabbers going to say? This is what we're dealing with. These people are gone. So they don't really know how to use logic and reason. They can't really think clearly. They're gone, completely programmed. And they're ushering in their own doom. They're ushering in the eradication of their rights and freedom. They're ushering in this new fascist totalitarianism, and they're applauding it, and they're bringing it in with glee. They want to stamp out anyone who's not been jabbed. Go get them. Like, no, don't let them do this. You should see the things that they're saying in the comment sections. These people are mad. They're insane. They're insane. And a lot of the mainstream platforms are encouraging this hatred for people who are exercising their rights. And, just like Nazi Germany propaganda, the people are getting riled up. And whenever the government makes another power move, a chess move for the New World Order, these people who are lost, they clap and cheer. Yes, see, they should mandate this. They should make them do this. Nope, you don't eat. If you don't want to get jabbed, you don't work. They're insane, so we do have to be mindful of the new environment that we are now entering. Be very mindful and cautious and careful because it's getting wild out there, folks. So what should we do moving forward? There's a lot of things that we should do for in the immediate time. I think that it's good to stock up on a little food, not too crazy, just like a couple weeks worth of canned goods, water, cool to have a generator. And I'm not trying to stoke any fear. Like we need to come out of the fear program. Like I really, really don't want to say these things to make people afraid of anything, but being a realist, you have to understand that the system is getting desperate. They're getting desperate. They're losing control. So the likelihood that some kind of thing may happen soon, we got to start considering these things. And power outage, food shortage, things to kind of herd people into getting the jab. They have plenty of games and tricks and schemes left to go, unfortunately. Before things get better, things have to get a little bad. And, it's good to just have a couple of weeks worth of food around the house. Again, nothing crazy. You don't have to build those World War II bunkers or anything like that. Just it's wise to have extra food. And what I also find important is what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of spiritual work because I think it's about that time where I'm going to have my next leveling up breakthrough. I've been waking up out of sleep, catching downloads, being weird and eccentric with certain people because I'm at that point before the next big shift. Like my first awakening, real big awakening period. I'm a very laid back, cool kind of character. And during this awakening years ago, that started me on my spiritual path, I started bugging, acting strange, acting reclusive because something was happening. There was a shift, there was a real shift. And, I started my spiritual path. And, I think I am heading towards that point where another huge shift is about to happen, and certain gifts and abilities might come into fruition. And I feel I'm right about that point, and I got to give myself into it. I know sometimes I pat myself on the back, and I don't mean to do that. It's just that when you're a source player and you're self-aware, you might say things that may seem like, okay, yeah, I'm some kind of guru, but no, I'm not some prophet, master, teacher. The wisdom, the information, the knowledge, and the gifts, that will definitely come in time. But I'm tapped in, but nowhere near where I'll be some time from now. I kind of feel that thing coming where certain activations have taken place, and I'm starting to get to that point where a huge leveling up is about to happen. And I found myself, being emotional, being a little petty with some certain people, because I'm examining things and I'm about to level up big time, because on the planet, there's a shift. Something is about to go down. And yeah, so I would suggest to everyone to, work on themselves and really work on their spiritual journey, because I feel like a lot of people are in the positions that they're in right now because they've allowed themselves to spiritually die. And so they can't use common sense. They have no gut instinct. They have no ability to reason. They need to source. They need to talk to a doctor. They need to talk to a scientist, because they cannot use any critical thinking and any common sense, like with what I just told you about the FDA approving the shot. Your human instincts would tell you, no, that's preposterous. It can't be approved. The time isn't there. For normal jabs, they take about at least a decade to clear. I don't believe in any of those, but like for those of you who are pro jab, you understand that in order to approve a jab, there has to be years of study, long-term studies. That is impossible. Common sense and human instincts will tell you, yeah, you can't approve a jab that just came out in less than a year. You don't have the information yet. So what are you approving? You're liars. You're liars. But the average person, they've allowed themselves to spiritually die to the point where they can't intellectually save themselves and they can't spiritually save themselves. So I would definitely spend a lot of time really getting into that spiritual work, meditation, to kind of offset all of this programming and propaganda coming at us these days. And people need to understand the system is trying to keep your vibration low and keep you asleep. They're keeping you spiritually vibrating low and impressionable so they can manipulate and control you. And I think that everyone will benefit from leveling up during this paradigm shift that's about to happen. And when you're on the right spiritual path and you're going in the right direction, you're going to receive gifts, you're going to receive signs, you're going to meet people who are going to teach you things or wake you up, wake parts of yourself up that were dormant. People live in the matrix and they live trapped in these little walls and fake lives and fake personas. And, we're heading towards a time where we're going to have to shed all of that and be our real selves. Speak our mind, speak the truth, be real. Because the system that we live in is fake and it's dying right before you. If you don't see it, say what you mean what you say at all times, be present. And for God's sakes, don't do things that you don't want to do, like take things that a job or, government or, a facility or whatever, a spouse, someone is making you do. Do not do things that are not in your prerogative and in your power, because that's a spiritual death. Because let me tell you, they're making it difficult and they're collecting bodies left and right. They're putting good people in very bad positions right now. This is a spiritual thing. They're putting people in the position of, choosing poverty, basically. We're going to not allow you to come to work unless you get jabbed. There's another situation where, they're doing things to people in need, people who are on lists, for organs. They're calling them up. Hey, you're on the list now. Congratulations. Oh, by the way, we're not giving you anything until you get jabbed. That's what the demonic system that we live in are doing. This is evil that needs to be fought and resisted, not cooperated with for 1 second of your life. If you vibrate in truth, you don't bend to this sort of thing. You don't. When you're on your journey and you vibrate in truth and you're on your path, you will know that already. And you won't bend to this sort of tyranny. Look at the system and what it's doing, the governments, and the wickedness that people are just laying down, complying with. The evil. Case in point, look what they're doing with the people's termination. They're giving people dates that they have to get this jab. And if they don't, they get fired. And after they get fired, they don't get any unemployment. So this is now the precedent. They want you to obey them or starve. They want people to starve. And we currently have a society full of people that are so damn brain dead that they're not angry at this. They're not angry at the government. They're angry at the people who don't trust this benevolent government and don't want to take the experimental concoction. Long-term side effects unknown. And finally, guys, we are in an era of civil disobedience being paramount right now. They're trying to create a system, a class system where, the jabbed live like first-class citizens. They have the keys to the city, and the unjabbed get treated like crap. They get denied rights. They don't get allowed entry. Abolish all of this. They don't make the rules. Stop participating. If they're advertising concerts and they're telling you you need a jab, do not go. Even if you are jabbed, don't go. Don't give your money to this. If there's a restaurant, and this is really unfortunate for the business owners, but it has to come to sending the greater message and stop participating. Do not walk into establishments that are asking you to submit to this agenda, this evil. Compliance is not it. Compliance is not the thing right now. Compliance is weakness. Compliance is condoning this system, knowing that it's the beast system, knowing that it's demonic, knowing that it's evil. Your participation is tethering your energy to it. You're complying with it. Back away from these weak, just wear your mask people. They're clueless and weak. Stand in your power and don't give your energy, don't tether your energy to this system by participation because you're condoning it. Now it's time to have a backbone. The normies are telling you the opposite. They're telling you the opposite because they're twisted and backwards. They're wound up like wind-up toys in the wrong direction, and they're fluttering away into the abyss of nothingness. Let them flutter away. But for those who are online, clicked in, and your spiritual side is awake, do not do what they say. Do the opposite. They think that sacrifice is just wear the mask, just do this, just comply, just get the jab. No, don't do any of that. Stand in your power, stand in your principle, and yes, sacrifice, but not in the way that they think. They think sacrifice means spreading your cheeks and doing what the government tells you to do and getting locked down and wearing masks. No, none of that is sacrifice. Sacrifice by not participating, being willing to suffer a little bit for the principle, standing in your power, standing in your integrity. Don't go to these concerts. Don't go to these restaurants. Don't go and give your money to places who are contributing, who are participating with this system. And it's not their fault. It's not a lot of the establishment's fault. I get it. I understand. But it's besides the point. Stop complying. That is how this madness ends. Period. So yeah, guys, I know it's difficult. I've been making myself available for friends and family who are struggling with this because they're being given these demonic ultimatums, and you know, now your character is going to be tested. Who are you? Stand in your power. It's going to be rocky for a little bit, but you got this. Stand in your integrity and don't bend, don't comply. The world is lost, spiritually lost. So the world and majority opinion is not going to help you now. Know who you are and what you will and won't do. I've been speaking with so many people who feel like they have their backs against the wall because their places of employment, or, you know, they're being given this ultimatum to do this or suffer the consequences. And for those who want to, do it. For those who feel like, you know what, this job or whatever that's paramount, that is also your decision. But for those who spiritually vibrate against this, I encourage you to ride this out and soldier on, because this cannot last. And you might be inconvenienced in the meantime, very ephemerally though. This won't last. And if you stand in your integrity, you may find yourself coming out on top eventually. It'll be rough at first, scary at first, troubling at first, but soldier on in your integrity. Because there's a spiritual war in full swing, and it is beyond worth it to stand in your power. Until the next time, guys.